Y'all, I swear to God, the best case scenario, these men will embarrass you. Serious. Oh God, I have so much to say about this. The nice guy, the family man, the great daddy, suck. Just another king baby who wants to be forever young, but get the credit of the responsibility of having children and a wife and all this stuff, but you just want to keep playing your toys, doing whatever, having babies. Like, what? Why didn't you cut? Why didn't you snip? Why? God! You're gonna oh my God. Before I get into it, I came out of my break to talk about this dude. I actually didn't even know that I knew who he was until 4 days ago. Everybody's talking about Foofighter. I don't listen to the Foofighters. I don't care. They talk about Dave Grohl. I don't even know how you say his name. I do know he is, though. I'm Gen X, sorry. So this is who I knew. And then, I don't know, I just assumed he didn't do anything after that because I don't care. Now I know about his whole family. I know more about this man than I ever wanted to know. I don't want to know anymore. I wish I knew less. But he's just another example of men humiliating all the women in their lives. Oh God. Okay, first of all, he hits every red flag I talk about. I was just laughing so hard because, I've dug up some old interviews and it is just comical at this point how much these men lie to themselves. I want to be a family man. Bah! Okay, and now your daughters are off TikTok and off Instagram, and they're all and the whole family is in hiding because besides the affair and the betrayal, although you have a history of doing that, so I'm wondering, did you think he was going to be different? I mean, I'm sorry. I'm really sorry, but the way they even met, I'm like, why would you go on a date with this dude? Anyway, but you know what? I love when people prove us wrong, but he just proved us right. Cheaters tend to keep cheating. But, this whole thing, men betray, they think they betray their wives. No. You betrayed your whole family. As the daughter of a cheater, let me tell you something. You cheat on your whole family. You don't just cheat on the woman, you cheat on your whole family. So if they never talk to you again, you deserve it. Anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. I read interviews from so long ago. I don't know. I just ADHD brain. Before I go on, my little sidekick, the apple of my eye. I don't even know what that means. We are waiting for the phone call from the hospital where he is getting a $900 test after spending several $100s the last. Anyway, he is partially paralyzed right now. We don't know why. We're running tests. If you like my work and you really like the star of the show, even though he literally does nothing but sleep and just be a king baby that I love more than almost anything in the world. If you want to support my work, I'm going to leave my payment stuff up in case you want to help with any of that, but I don't expect anything. But I have spent more on this dog in the last 3 days than I make in an entire month. So if you ever wanted to show some appreciation, now would be the time to do it, but I don't expect anything. I'm not going to do a GoFundMe because that seems like a lot of work. And I'm convinced nobody would want to give to it anyway. It's like a birthday party you're afraid no one will come to. Fingers crossed. They kept him there all day today. He's had to get anesthesia to get this test anyway. But he's a very good boy. Hopefully he will be home tonight. Let's get back to this man and this love story. I really do. Here's the thing. Any man that is I don't think he calls himself a nice guy. This is just what people did. There's a reason why the nice guy is just don't. F the Nice Guy podcast. I've been on that before. Go watch that. I love her. There's a reason why we criticize the nice guy so much. It's because they only look nice by comparison to other dudes, but half the time they're worse. I'm not saying he's worse, but I wouldn't be surprised. You can't call men nice guys. Even if he never called himself that, if you say he's the nicest guy, you know what they're going to do behind that label. The Guardian said in an interview once that he has a personality somewhere between Gandhi and a Care Bear. man in rock. Well, y'all, if this is your poster child for a nice guy in rock, I mean, I guess compared to all the other ones, Steven Tyler and well, I've been meaning to do a video on all the ones who literally date teenagers, which means they're and so although I don't know how old this the woman he had his little love child with. Wouldn't be surprised if she's barely 20. And, you know, even in Elle magazine, under this article called Drummer Boy, so they called him the nicest guy in rock. Like, I am sure, I don't even know how many times this man has heard that, but please stop calling men nice guys. It makes them not nice if they were. Plus, you never know. Y'all, I'm telling you, do not know a man until you have lived with him. I don't care. The nicest man you know, ask his children and his wife how nice he is. But then again, they may not even know. As we've seen what happens to a French woman who has a great husband and who has her gang raped. By the way, if you are anywhere in France, please look it up. There's a protest on Saturday all over the country. The shame changes sides in support of Giselle. And French women are pissed. And I'm here for all of it. And if there's one thing French people do, I want you to take a close look at. Let's get back to the origin story of his career. So they asked, please provide a snapshot of adolescent humiliation at the hands of a woman. Y'all, this is so telling. In 7th grade, there was a gorgeous, angelic girl named Sandy who moved to Alexandria, Virginia, where I grew up. Within the first few weeks of school, I asked her to go study. She said yes, and we'd meet in her locker after every period and give each other hickeys. Oh, God, why was that ever a thing, y'all? Anyway, oh, I know. The men could mark us. It's another way of pissing all over us. Anyway, after about 2 weeks, she said, I'm new here. I don't want to get tied down, and dumped me. You know what? Good for you. Good for you. Sandy, I am loving that energy. I love this, seriously. Then Elle was like, was she like a 23-year-old 7th grade? Nah, but she did have the whole feather, hair, blah, blah. So I played it cool, and I was like, whatever, baby. No big deal. But I was secretly heartbroken. That night, I dreamed that I was playing guitar on stage in an arena, rocking ass in front of 20,000 people, and I looked down and saw Sandy crying because she made the biggest mistake of her life. And that dream's what got me into rock and roll. Y'all, for instance, this is relatable. This is totally relatable. Like, I kind of love this guy, and I understand why people love him, but at the end of the day, men are going to humiliate you. And cheaters going to cheat. And men don't want to be fathers. They want the label, but they literally don't want a parent. Even when they try the best, they still just can't let go of that selfishness. Some of them can. I'm sorry. I should stop saying they can't. They won't. I caught myself there. They won't give up their selfishness and their entitlement. Because they never question it. Because on patriarchy, this woman is supposed to stand by him, even though he has humiliated her. Anyway, y'all, I am telling you, men, like, this is very relatable. How many of us want to, like, show our ex? But this is literally why he got into rock and roll, was because of Sandy. One girl being like, nah, I just want to do my own thing. It's not like she cheated either. Like you. Dave. She just literally broke up with you instead of, I don't know, betraying you and your whole family. Was like, I just want to be alone. Why don't you take notes from Sandy? If you don't want to be a father and be a husband and all that stuff, just say it. Stop trying to do something you clearly don't want to do. Oh, I know, because you get all the credit of being a dad. You get all the credit of having a... I swear, this, like, when they say marriage benefits men, this man is taken so much more seriously because he has children and a wife. And, like, a solid wife. Because if he was just some rocker loser who had no kids and no wife, people would feel really sorry for him. In addition to all the labor that she provides. But the social capital, y'all, they love it. They need it. They are nothing without it. Even George Clooney realized that. The man we thought would never get married. And Clooney, I got words coming for you. BFF with Brad. Brad dad has completely rebranded, and Clooney helped him do it. Anyway, don't let me forget to make that video, y'all. I'm so behind. Also, when he said his ideal version of a woman was Carrie, the woman who got blood poured all over her in that movie, she was my ideal woman. Beautiful, petite, possessed. Okay, whatever. This guy says a lot of funny stuff. Whatever. But like, look at him. They're like, who's the nicest woman in rock? Norah Jones. I was surprised at how pleasant and normal she was for being such a musical genius. Yeah, maybe also she can't get away with all that crap that all these rockers do, I swear. The way that rock stars have dodged the Me Too bullet, I do not get it. They're literally admitted in books. They've written memoirs about, dating teenagers, getting them pregnant. Red Hot Chili Peppers dude. Oh my God. You are there. That's another video I've been meaning to do. Oh, I'm telling you, Google him. He's like 60 and he's dating a 19-year-old. So this is not just about dating. I'm just learning all this about him. I had never heard of his wife's name until this man embarrassed her. Heard of his daughter. Never heard of any of these women because I just don't care about him. I really forgot he existed. But now the whole world is talking about them and him because he never got snipped. Clearly did not use birth control. Duh, dude. And then also betrayed his whole family. And again, I am waiting to hear how old this girl is. Sorry, woman, but maybe not. But this is also for please stop thinking that anyone can tame these bad boys. This is not Beauty and the Beast, okay? I know we've been taught it's our job to tame these boys. Tame the beast. Little Mermaid or, the Disney remake, not the origin story. Little Mermaid or Beauty and the Beast is what every movie is on some level that is written for us by men or women who center men. But look, I'm not saying people can't change. I believe they can. I have. Everyone I know has been through lots of change because they've been working on themselves. But men who give off the I don't want to grow up vibes, they will never grow up. Okay, so in this Guardian thing, he was all like, for the past 20 years I've been touring, I've always craved stability. I've never gotten off on chaos. Are you sure about that? Because you literally cheat on every woman. I'm going to go into that in a minute. You create chaos by not being faithful to women, but wanting to get married. Why do you want to get married? Stop marrying. So even though, and here's the thing, I can relate to this. As somebody who was just like, this is why I didn't date at all, because I had a feeling that I would be this, where I'd say, I don't want chaos, and then I'd date crazy men who want to me. Like that dude, the first dude I dated at 36. And then I was like, oh, wait, maybe I do want chaos. Or I seem to be attracted to men who don't want to be around me. And then I was like, oh, that makes sense. That was my dad. I don't know, Dave. You talk so much about going to therapy. He literally talks about therapy. I show some of those interviews. He's been in therapy for a long time, and he has been through a lot. I can't imagine losing your bandmate to whatever. Okay, I would never want to be that famous. I don't even want to be this famous. I'm not famous, but just there's so much that comes with being in the public eye. Talks about how he's been stalked. Yeah, welcome to the club, buddy. Whatever. I feel really bad for super famous people, but if they have a lot of money, at least they can afford security guards and a legal team and publicists and all that stuff. And then they still tear their life down by not using birth control. Anyway, so I have a lot of empathy for this dude because he's been famous since he was super young, and I would hate to grow up with that level of fame and pressure. He's the perfect example of somebody who wants one thing, but his actions are the opposite. And I feel like you just have a really bad therapist. Something's missing here. Because he's all like, I thought out the whole life I just retreat to Virginia. Sucked in the tornado of insanity. With Foofighter says, I wouldn't be able to do this if I didn't have my feet planted firmly on the ground. So Jordan, his wife, and Violet, his first daughter, are the anchors that keep me from completely disappearing. See, this is one of the things I can't stand that men do. This is the same thing of she's my rock. Great. This is what, Robert Downey Jr.? I don't know what kind of secrets you have, man, but like the way he talks about his wife, I have gone into him so many times. Any man who talks about their wife and their children as like holding them down, anchoring them down, guess what? She failed. She sucked at it apparently, because even she and your poor daughter couldn't anchor you enough because you're out there putting your baby gravy in other women. I'm sure there's more than one. So that even when they say this stuff, stop giving women credit for this, because you will eventually fail and then now it's her fault. No woman can be a man's rock. Any man who says that you're his rock, that you hold him down, you keep him together, you better watch out. That man was going to ruin your life. Because he has no self-control, no self-discipline, no self-respect. And he's counting on you to save him from himself. And no woman can do that. No person can do that. It's not fair to expect anybody to do that. Did your therapist not call you on that, Dave? He also I don't really know enough about the whole drama with Courtney Love. But a lot of people have said he's not so nice. And I would be willing to bet most of his exes who he cheated on don't also think he's a nice guy. But, so many of the interviews that he's been doing since he started having kids is all about what a family man, I'm a great dad. No more than 2 weeks on the road. That's the new rule. No more 6 months. Violet's the light at the end of the tunnel. Really? Well, now you got a fourth light. And everything benefits. Musically, I'm in a place I've never been before because there's no fear. You should have fear. You need some more fear, buddy. You didn't have any fear and now you got caught. I'm not afraid to write anything. A lot has to do with the big picture. Having a child and realizing that life's too short to be afraid. I'm telling you, the more men talk about how much they love being a dad and fatherhood, the more you should assume they are doing nothing or kind of suck at it. I am not even joking. The thing that my dad, and I have made peace with my dad. I appreciate so many things that my dad did, despite all the crap he did, that he did not do, or the terrible things he did. And one of the things that used to really annoy me is that he loved, it's even on his grave. That's what he wanted on his grave. He wrote his own obituary, which I then rewrote to not make it seem so crazy and to make it a little funnier. The thing that he wanted to brag about was being a father. Being a father is one of the proudest things he's ever done. I'm always like, really? That's what you're most proud of? I don't know. Maybe you should be more proud of some of the other stuff you did. Because I'm not proud of your job. Like, thanks for, paying child support and, taking us on some family vacation, and helping out with school. But if that's your proudest of your whole life, is literally not being involved at all in your children's life until they were adults and drinking and watching TV. You know what I mean? Like men who brag about fatherhood, holding them down and being like, please stop leaving them. It's the same thing of, in Europe, a lot of people ask me, why is America so obsessed with saying family values? I was like, because we don't have any. Or like, individually, yeah. But, our society, our culture is like individualism, and it's economically set up that way. Under patriarchy, white supremacy culture, and capitalism, hyper-capitalism, we don't give a crap about families. We do nothing to support them. So, of course, that's all we talk about, family value. Because we know we don't care. So we got to talk about it all the time. That's what dads do. It's so funny because I haven't read his memoir, nor will I ever. But I read some reviews of. Y'all, I've been researching this all day. Hours and hours and hours. I hope this video does well. Please comment and like and share to help it do well. Because, oh my God, y'all. Apparently, even in his memoir, he didn't really talk about this family he just loves so much. He loves talking about just being a rock star. One of the critics said he spends more time rhapsodizing about I don't know if I said that right, his unsuccessful cross-country odyssey to visit a club owned by Pantera. I've been to 2 Pantera concerts, by the way. See, I used to hang out with guys, these metalheads in high school. Like just like him. We did acid every Wednesday and every weekend and drank and all that stuff. And went to Pantera. They're also nice guys. One of them I dated, and he is in prison for 10 years. Just got out and is back in prison. Anyway, he spends more time talking about that than his entire first marriage, which he mentions only in passing. Oh, but relationships are so important. He loves, relationship, being held down by, by love, stability. And at the very end, of course, of this book, he talks, in the book's end, he is settled into life as a doting girl dad. Once traveling 16 time zones in 2 days to not miss a daddy-daughter dance at school. He makes it home in time. He makes it on time, and it's a joyous night he'll remember forever. Really? It meant so much. You betrayed all 3 of your daughters to have an affair, and now you got some other daughter now. Now they got to split their inheritance with her. The other stuff that he said when he's talking about this song he wrote. To me, there's nothing more beautiful than seeing the headstone of a husband and a wife side by side in the graveyard. I bet you also like The Notebook. I bet that's a romance for you. I hope your new mystery affair partner is planning on getting a tombstone with you, and I hope Jordan doesn't. I swear to God, men, the way they will talk about romance and then literally do everything in their lives to make sure they don't get this thing that they just want so bad. And the reason why is because they just assume that women will never leave them. No matter what they do, they'll either never get caught, and if they do get caught, they'll never be left. Even the statement he put out there is like, I love my wife and kids. I'm going to do everything to repair the damage. I'm going to treat this new baby girl from this other person. I'm going to love her. Okay. Keep telling yourself that. I mean, I guess he kind of has a clue that maybe his marriage won't outlast. Or maybe he actually doesn't want in this marriage anymore. And now he's gonna, like so many men are such cowards. They won't even file the paperwork even though they're miserable. Either they don't think you're gonna leave, or they don't want to look like the bad guy. So they'll just do all this stuff so that you're just like, fine. Okay? Because he has a history of not exiting relationships very well. He has a reputation as being a cheater. Allegedly cheated on his first wife with this woman, Louise Post. And it was such a scandal at the time that it caused this dude to leave the band. Allegedly, he cheated on her with Ryan Reiner, but he's disputed. But yeah, now he's a family man. I'm telling y'all, I just want you, let's play a game. Every article you see about him, how many times is family man or nice guy of rock going to be in there? I'm telling you, like these family men, even think they're a family man if they have 10 children from 8 different women. I love all my kids. I just literally won't spend time with any of them. He said stuff like that. When you have kids, you see life through different eyes. You feel love more deeply and are maybe a little more compassionate. Well, not enough. Not compassionate enough to not screw them all over. Because you couldn't keep it in your pants. If the gossip magazines are like, you suck, you betrayed your family. It's not good. I am so curious of his publicist. Now, Molly McPherson, she's one of my mutuals. She was in the New York Times talking about the timing of this was actually really good. It was right before the debate, the presidential debate. He thought he could just put it out there and then people be talking about the debate, right? No. They're even just like, bro, your kids. Good luck. Hope they forgive you. And now, one woman is this ex of his. Pick me. He's all like, no, he's a nice guy. Don't ever be this woman. If somebody is outed as a cheater, don't be like, no, I think he's like a really nice guy. Don't do that. Don't do that when they find out he has raped somebody. And don't do that. Don't do this. You are not playing on the team. Dating men under patriarchy is a team sport. And you are a bad teammate if you do this. Jennifer stepped up to defend Dave. describing him a top-tier dad and friend. I don't know, whatever, I don't care. Like, I don't care how much time you spent with his family, how good of friends you are, how he gives his all. Who else gave his all and was like the dad who dropped off his kids at school and was a doting father and stayed at home and sounded like more of the default parent? Her husband. I don't want to show his face. It's also funny because he said back in 2003 that Jordan was pretty much the first person he'd been truly honest with. Pretty much in terms of you've been kind of honest with other people, or pretty much because you're not being honest with her. Now I've got nothing to hide. When you're not lying, trying to be someone else, being honest is easy. You overestimated yourself, bro. Oh. You have a history of cheating. And he's like, no, but I'm honest with her. This is what I'm telling you. I really think that he thought this. A lot of men, they really believe the lies they tell themselves. The same way I believe the lies I tell myself. I was like, he will never, like, I'll be able to get out of this. He's always ahead of me. So how many times when women won't leave a man because we don't know what he'll do without us? He'll be just fine, honey. He will find another woman who has not deconstructed the patriarchy stuff or healed any of her trauma or dealt with her codependency or any of that stuff, and she will take care of him. Anytime you are not going to leave a man because you don't know what's going to happen to him, there's going to be okay. First of all, you're not his mom. That is not love. That is codependency. And second of all, he is probably already cheating on you if you're doing everything for him, because men do not respect you when you do too much. They do not respect you. If you're doing too much, they do not respect you, and they will cheat on you probably, or just resent you for making their life so easy. So the minute, I swear I stayed in that relationship that I almost died in because I kept saying, well, what will he do without me? Is he going to be okay? Oh yeah, he's fine. He is married now. He's married now. Never ever paid for any of his crimes against many women. So don't you worry, baby girl. He'll be okay. Leave him. Because again, these men usually don't change unless they're really working on themselves. You know, it was not easy for anyone to date. One of his exes, she found out secondhand everyone else knew about the affair except her. And again, when you date rock stars or just men who are like, well, don't date men in bands, okay? It's usually not going to work out well for you. But what happens, like, you know, actors and comedians and men who are just like, oh, they go, you know, whatever. Like, you are going to be expected to lose yourself. Give it everything up. Their career is center. Same thing with climbers. You will never be more important to most climbers than climbing. Sorry. With this snowboarder that he was with for 2 years, all I got was a 5-minute phone call from him. After 5 weeks of me calling and trying to get a hold of him because I just had to know if these rumors were true. So she found out about him cheating, and then 5 weeks he wouldn't call her. She just wanted to hear it from him. And a 5-minute phone call, he's like, bye. So maybe this is him just doing the same thing, just having an affair in hopes that she'll just, I'm just telling you, so many men, like, either he thinks he's going to get away with it, or he wants to leave her, but he knows it makes him look bad to have an affair and leave your wife and 3 children that you've been talking so great about. But if you have an affair and a baby with that affair partner, then maybe she'll leave you. And you can go be with your new friend, your little friend. More important than any of your daughters. Even Violet. When I first saw her face, right close to her face, and I said, hey, Violet, it's me. And she stopped screaming. And then they locked eyes, and we've been like that ever since. Wow, bro, you sound really close to her. Did she know about your affair? I don't think she did. Oh, well, bye-bye, relationship with daughter. Even though he says he does, I don't like being away from them for more than 12 days. Everything in my life has changed. The band is not the most important thing in my life. My kids are the most important thing in my life for sure. And they're in charge of my career. My kids are the most important thing in my life for sure. But they may never talk to me again because I just couldn't stop doing what I want. I really, I believe that he believed this when he said it. He probably still believes this. They deserve the world. And then they also hate themselves. Whatever. I don't know. Oh my God. Okay, so now I want to go into some of the interviews that he's done. And I found all of this on this website. That's the website. I don't know. I mean, They have all the interviews he's ever done. This was one that I found. I can't figure out who this was for, but it was his advice about like before getting married. He said in multiple interviews, this stuff up here, about how he wanted to settle down. I settled down for sure. A couple years ago, I had an epiphany when I realized that life is very delicate. Yeah, that's when you're his like bandmate OD. Life's too short to wait for anything to happen to you. It's too short to waste any. Can't fill your days with things that are not meaningful, whatever. Getting married has a lot to do with that. I love children, and I love my family and shit. I love being at home. There's nothing better to anchor you at home than a couple of rugrats. Well, you got 3, buddy, and they couldn't anchor you. Stop making kids and women anchor you. Anchor yourself. Now, I feel like Jordan may have missed some red flags. The way he talks about his bachelor party. I'm going to go into like when they met. It's like red flag. But anyway, talk about his bachelor party. It happened at the end of their tour for Foofighter. And someone was asking him how it was, and he's like, it was just fine. And they're like, details? And he's like, use your imagination, then multiply it by 10. Now, this was in Vegas. It was a bachelor party, you know? I made everybody promise that we wouldn't talk about it. Hear this cough? The cough came from the bachelor party. I'm almost done with the antibiotics. No more bachelor parties for me. Okay, so everyone had a vow of silence at his bachelor party, and then he literally wants us to imagine a bachelor party, which we know is full of like strippers usually and all kinds of stuff, maybe a typical one. It doesn't have to be that way, y'all. Anyway, and he's like, imagine the craziest bachelor party and multiply by 10. Like, are you trying to tell us you just like fucked a bunch of people and you got a disease or something? I don't know. And then talking about his wedding, he's like, it's not a Vegas thing. It's a big deal. It's something you do once or twice or 3 times. Anyway, just pause to read this if you want to. It's just like blah, 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 blah. I also suggest not to invite your ex-partners to your wedding. Then he says this, pretty much every girlfriend that I've ever had has been relatively insane, okay? I don't know, they don't sound like it. You sound like it. Anyway, if I were in a room full of women, I'd find the biggest working nutcase. I love being the provider emotionally, and otherwise that's what I do. What? I never met anyone who could take care of me, but I finally found one. Jordan! And this person makes me feel like I'm the crazy one that needs to be taken care of. I like that. It feels good. Okay, so maybe he was like codependent in some relationship. He's like, I don't like being the caregiver. I want to be the crazy. I want to be the crazy, and I want someone to take care of me. Either way, bro, I don't like the way you're talking about this. Someone talking about the honeymoon, like what he's gonna do on his honeymoon. Like he's talking about getting tanned for the Germans. What? Anyway, it's this stuff right here. It's just a honeymoon, you know? Wonderful. We're going to the tropics. A good 7 or 8 days of tantric. That's what I'm looking forward to. I figured it out years ago. Like, but bro, why are you saying all this? Anyway, this is so crazy. I have a hard time believing it's real. But it's allegedly something he wrote. He also answers questions on Reddit. This man has said so much. I literally could have spent a month researching this stuff and have still not even know how to or make it make sense. This man seems to be the perfect example of someone who says one thing and really believes, and loves his kid, loves those kids, but also not enough to not do all this and humiliate them. There's also this one interview where this journalist is driving around with him, like super close with his mom, or he was. Takes the reporter to her house and is like, hey, say hi, Mom. She's probably in her pajamas. And at one point he talked about how him and his mom are best friends. And I can't find the clip, but he talks about how he wants, him and his daughter are going to be best friends, or they are best friends. I'm like, bro, y'all, can we stop normalizing being best friends with either parent? That is not their job. You can be friends when you're adults, but like there's always going to be something there. But like when they're a child, they should not be your friend. That's not what they're there for. They're not, I'm sorry, you need to go make some friends. That's how you parentify children. Anyway, he talks about going to therapy. And they're like, you talk about being in therapy. Do you feel centered now? And he's like, yeah, everybody has the problems. Like I said, I'm afraid to feel too good. But I just count my blessings. I wake up in a beautiful house and I and jump out of bed. I don't like to think about my midlife crisis. Oh, well, now we know what you do. Now we know what you did. Well, a piece of it. Or how many years are left. I have a lack of foresight in some ways. Welcome to the world of men. Maybe forking this person might cause some problems for me. Maybe I should put on some protection before I have with this person because there might be a baby afterward. No, men just love to be in the moment. They don't think about that. It's starting to come to me now when I think about Violet. You know, who's going to be standing right next to me the day I die? Well, not her now. Maybe not her. The way men will talk about children and their wives is like, you know, the tomb, nothing more romantic than a tombstone. Our tombstone's next together. My daughter's going to be there when I die. You know what that requires? Actually, not betraying them. That requires loyalty. That requires love and care and working on the relationship. Not running around doing whatever you want. Also talks about therapy and about how he doesn't want to be a burden to anybody. And believe you me, I have been working on my burden story for a long time. But here's the thing. When you have a really strong burden story and you don't work on it, you actually become a burden. You become a big burden to people because you're going to start doing stuff and not knowing why. You're going to start like breaking people's heart or sabotaging relationships and you don't know why. You need a new therapist, bro. Or maybe you're just not ready for this. I will say that I appreciate a lot of the things he's done, the fact that he talks about therapy, but this is kind of an example of therapy not working. But like, you know, he's been behind a lot of causes. He's done a lot of stuff. I looked at his Wikipedia page and I was like, oh, that's cool. That's cool. That's cool. Maybe it's because he's a generally nice guy who just can't seem to understand his entitlement under patriarchy and how much damage that does to any of the women he loves if he doesn't deal with that. Or maybe he does all that to hide behind that like a lot of men do. And he talks about how he realized one of the things that made him realize he wanted a family, even though he's a rock star. He went and hung out with Neil Young. He saw Neil Young's wife making potato salad and, you know, they had like a normal life. He just watched this family and he's like, oh, wow, that's what's nice about family and marriage and stuff. There's a woman making you potato salad. You can have that stability. Must be easy peasy. I'll do that. Another interview he did. He talks about how, you know, some of his childhood, of course, again, fatherhood. You're a father now. How has it changed you? Oh, it's changed everything. Personally and honestly, it's something that I'd always imagined happening. I grew up with a tight family. I'm probably one of the few rock musicians that didn't have a screwed up life. And yet he still does all this. I mean, my parents divorced when I was 7 years old and we grew up with no money, but we got by with very little and we're still, okay. So he was like, yeah, I had a happy childhood. The no money part, bro, you grew up in the suburbs. Come on. Your dad was a speechwriter for Republicans. I mean, your mom was a school teacher. My mom was a teacher too. They don't make much money. But come on, you were not poor. The guy was like, yeah, but he was a speechwriter. He's like, I mean, yeah, like, but there's no luxury. Like having no money and not having a luxurious life are very different. See, like I think he just like tells himself story, but like we all do. So I mean, I don't have anything against this guy. I just like to talk about celebrities because it just shows like a lot of times we understand ourselves through the way they mess up, or we understand marriage. And because what happens in these relationships is actually not all that different than what's happening in a lot of relationships. I do appreciate the fact that when people are like, oh, but your parents got divorced, he's like, yeah, like, it was kind of hard. Like, whatever, it wasn't that bad. I don't think he's being in denial about that. I think divorce can be very traumatic. It broke up his family for a while, his dad especially, and I don't think he's really dealt with that. And his relationship with his mom seems a little too enmeshed. You know, so many men will be like, oh, the reason I became a rapist is because my parents got divorced. I'm like, that's it? That's it. Okay. They're talking, again, every single reporter's like, so you're a dedicated family man now. Oh, yeah. And he talks about going to some mommy and me class that he only went to because he was like, his wife told him to. She said, you know, fathers are welcome. It's like, don't you just love how women will say, instead of being like, bro, you're a dad, you should show up at stuff like this. She's like, you know, fathers are welcome. This is what we do all the time. I try not to do this anymore. But the way we're like expected to do this, to just lighten the blow for men so they don't feel bad about not parenting. So then he talks about how he's never been in a room with 15 babies before. And how he just, I mean, it's kind of a funny story because everybody's like singing this song and dancing with a baby and he's just dancing by himself. So it's endearing. I understand why people are like, oh, family man, he used to be in Nirvana. But I'm just saying, like, we just stop putting like dads who call themselves family men and who are like, I'm a girl dad or whatever. Stop putting them on a pedestal. Because unless I hear from those children themselves, I'm not going to assume they did much. Just because they admit to changing diaper and go to a mommy and me and go to a daughter-daddy dance, well, they'll still leave you for another woman. The whole family. Okay, so I want to focus on this part of the interview right here because this is the mentality of most climbers, band dudes, maybe skiers, fill in the blank. Men who center their careers and their hobby and themselves over women. It's harder to leave home when you go on tour these days. Well, it's weird, man, because for years I could pick up and leave home with a backpack and a toothbrush. I didn't miss anything. I missed people, but I didn't get too attached to stuff, you know, not too attached to people. And I can relate to this. This is how I lived for a while because of unresolved trauma. And then I've actually like worked on that. Anyway, and having been on the road since I was 18, again, I do feel bad for this guy. He's been famous and on the road touring since he was so young. My home is usually just a place to store my stuff. Or if a lot of these men, your home is the place for him to store. Do not let men store stuff at your place. Never. Make them get a storage unit. Store my stuff when I left. You know, even Grizzly Man, that crazy dude I did that part, like 4 parts on. I should do it again. That man was also a little hobosexual who just left his stuff. Women were bankrolling that whole thing, by the way. Now he can't stand me. So, like, how did you and Jordan meet? I met Jordan. This is this story, y'all. Jordan, I think he kind of humiliated you by telling this story. I met Jordan one night in 2001. Taylor, that's his bandmate. We're hanging out at the Sunset Marquee Whiskey Bar. The dude was like in his 30s, mid-30s. Whatever, he's a rocker. Taylor was the looker. I mean, girls would send him drinks. Some bombshell comes up and starts talking to Taylor. I was just out of Tenacious D session. I had got Vans, trainers on, no socks, dirty shorts, and a dirty t-shirt, surrounded by beautiful Hollywood. That's so Hollywood. Men looking like crap, wearing a t-shirt and like basketball shorts, looking like crap. And you know, like all these men, the worse they look, like the more women are like, wow, Jordan, what were you doing? So he's thinking, so look, okay. She waved her friend Jordan over. So this girl, his friends, his bandmates, talking, and I was like, oh my God, not a chance. So I'm just having some drinks and acting like a drunk ass. Great, Jordan. This was your first encounter, and you're like, I'm gonna give him my number. And by the end of the night, I was pissed. And I'm staring at her. So he's drunk, I guess. I'm staring at her. You're my future ex-wife. So she gave me her number. Signed, Jordan, your future ex-wife. Jordan, what are you thinking? Okay, this is the interesting part. So we saw each other a few times, but I realized that this was this was the flag, the finish line, and I'm like, oh wait a minute, and I backed out. Y'all, okay, you know how we say so many men, they know pretty quickly, like, oh wow. Although I'm not concerned, like, maybe it's just because she was pretty, and he's like, oh, she's the one. He knew within a few dates and was like, uh-oh, better ghost her. Like, seriously, I'm sorry. I am not victim blaming here. I feel really bad for his wife. I'm just using this as an example because we've all done it, I think. I have. I literally dated a hobo. Rode the rails for 9 years. Literally lived out of a backpack with a hammock. Okay? I am not judging. I am just saying, Jordan, I think you and I have some things in common. Even though he was not a hobo because he had a lot of money, it's still the spirit of it. You know what I mean? A little Peter Pan. This dude is dressed like crap and he's wasted and he's like in his mid 30s and he's like, he admits he's wasted and he's acting like a young ass. And then you give him your number? Why? I mean, I get it. Actually, I know why, but you know, I'm just saying, y'all learn from our mistakes. Because I too was like, oh, wouldn't that be fun to date like a fellow traveler? Although he literally doesn't pay bills and is a parasite, my ex. And I always paid my own bills. And you know what I mean? Like, this man is a parasite on women, whereas women live like this. They tend to take care of themselves. Or they end up with men who maybe take care of them, but they got to do a lot of work to get that care. The little Peter Pans, they always love someone who's going to hold it down. And when they're like, why did you back out? Because you've been burned by previous marriage? No. I love his honesty, really. No, not at all. People want to be like, oh, you're like this because your parents divorced. No. You know, burned by marriage? No, I just wasn't ready for the flag. Y'all act as if it's some big sacrifice to have a woman do everything for you and to get so much respect from everybody because you're with her. Oh, the ball and chain. When y'all are the balls and chain. Basically, he was then he's in the hospital because his best buddy OD'd. And it was basically when his buddy OD'd and like, he thought his buddy was going to die. He was sitting in this hospital every day in London, noon to midnight. And he's like, dang, that's my future. I keep doing this. I don't have a woman to anchor me and children to anchor me. I'm going to end up like this dude. Better get me a wife. I'm telling you, every time men get really sick or something happens to them, that's when they realize, oh, I need a hospice wife. I don't ever want to be in the hospital and no one visits. I don't want a tombstone without one next to it or a daughter holding my dying hand. See how they think about us as just something that serves them rather than what they can do for us? Then he's like watching TV one day. His friend almost died and he sees her in a commercial. He's like, that's the girl. That's Jordan. And I started having dreams about that life I've been thinking about, settling down dreams. And in those 2 weeks, I changed forever. I thought, not waiting one more minute. Life's too short. He calls her up. And Jordan makes the mistake that so many women make where they ignore the red flag. This man ghosted her. They went on all these dates. And the drunk man at the bar who was dressed like crap, who called her his future ex-wife, ghosts you and then calls you back out of nowhere. And you're like, yeah, cool. And you marry him. What? Like, I get it. That's probably what I would have done years ago before I learned by almost getting murdered to not date insecure men, little Peter Pans or these hobos. How many of y'all can relate to this? How many of us have been like, oh, he finally got me back, even though he's a total loser? Although, you know, this guy was like famous and rich and whatever. So it's different, you know. Like, I have no excuse. Anyway, instead of being like, sorry, bro, you missed your chance. You ghosted me. Instead of literally, that's why I'm like, I'm not convinced that he didn't just have an affair to get out of this marriage. Because he didn't even have the decency to be like, you know what? I realized I'm not ready for this yet, but you're a really awesome person. I need some time. like literally just ghosted, and then calls her back. And she's like, wow, I never thought I'd hear from you again. Look at this. So I took her to a restaurant right next door to here, and that was that. No grand gesture. No, his friend flatlined, and he was like, I don't want to die alone. Yeah, I like that girl. That one, like maybe it's fake that she came up on a commercial. I don't know, but I'm telling you, do not date men because they're ready to get married. That man does not want you. He just wants somebody. He wants a companion and access to all that labor and your body and maybe some little rugrats, a little best friend. Here's that quote. I found it. My idea is that my daughter and I are best friends. And hopefully that'll last for the rest of our lives. So he wants a little best friend and a partner. But it's not about you. If he doesn't love you and not just want somebody, you will get so screwed. Just like she did. Although I hope she gets a big old settlement out of this. So he's 38 in this interview, y'all. At the end of this interview that he gives while he is married and a father. I love this journalist just told on him. He drives him home. He's trying to show, I don't think the journalist realized he's telling on him. He's like, he's such a nice guy. He drove me home. 45 minutes. But he covers that in half the time. Foot to the floor, driving like a rock star for the first time this evening. At one point, he brakes and swerves to avoid another car suddenly pulling into a garage and the dark lights, blah, blah, blah. And basically, he realizes that he almost died in a car with this man. Great. Sounds like a great dad who prioritizes his family. Like, bro, the way he talks about his life, even as a 30-something-year-old man, 40-something-year-old man in these interviews, it's like, okay, you're a great family man and a great dad, but it sounds like you drink way too much and you're really reckless. And the way he talks about this place right here, where the Foofighter's new headquarters is, pause and read this ridiculous. He just casually talks about how he built this studio on the street where a woman was stalked by a man who burned her alive in the house. It's like how all this is I swear, they just, these band rock dudes glorify eternal childhood for men. Like the epitome of king baby. They decorate the place. It's like just one big man cave. And whatever, I get it, but also women don't get to do this. Not like this. Not with the family's money. And I love at the age of 38, he still answers questions with tough titties. I haven't said that since I was 15. No, 13 probably. It kind of makes me like him more, but also you're dad of 4 daughters. You're not in the 7th grade. He's 36 when he said that. I also want to point a few things and then I'm done. He talks about age gaps. I am dying to know how young his mistress is. But before I get to that, so he talks about he just talks about drinking a lot. I know that I appreciate, he also talks about he never got into any of the really hard stuff. And his mom actually was never worried about that for him. She was always worried about his relationships with women. His mom knew him well, but, I'm glad he never, there's a reason why famous people tend to die young. Is a lot of times they take their own lives or they die of addictions because this industry is so capitalistic. And it's just again, I wouldn't wish this career on anybody. What this man has, even though we all, have been taught to just idolize them and want to be famous and all, but seriously, my brief encounters with any level of people talking about me on larger platforms is terrifying. And yet at the same time, for me to do what I love, whatever, but I don't ever want this. Never, ever, ever. But he talks about he's like, yeah, what, a gallon of whiskey, blah, blah, blah. He's talking about Nora Jones and her dating someone. He's talking about how the age gap for him that age matters. It really does. 8 years is the max. If it's any more than 10, then it's a generation. Like, well, what's the difference between you and your wife? 8. How convenient. I actually agree. Like, I think anything over 10, unless you're like old, is like weird. After a certain age, it's kind of, I don't know. I just don't think people, like old people, should be dating 20-year-olds, or teenagers. Okay, I guess Gen X is immature. I'm the slouch. Well, I'll believe that. And I don't know, just like from interviews, I just get the feeling that, like, especially what he said, like, he's the one who likes to make people happy. He says it again here. I'm very good at looking after everyone and being nice and making people comfortable. Yeah, me too. That can be called codependency when taken to an extreme. It could also be just thoughtfulness and like whatever, but like too much of that is not good. I love making people feel good. Doesn't mean I'm the forking happiest person in the world. And they're like, what do you mean? It's like, I'd never heard a kitty cat. There have been moments making this album that I've questioned, what am I doing with my life and whether I'm a good person or not. There's always self-loathing. I think everybody is like also like their own worst critic. Although sometimes I don't think men criticize themselves enough. Like consciously, I think deep down, they subconsciously hate themselves, which is why they create so much violence in the world. But consciously, they're like, yeah, it's all good, bruh. I just want to end on a few things. Again, a lot of his old interviews have resurfaced. Honesty is the best policy, whether it's with a best friend or girlfriend or a parent or whatever. And again, Jordan's the first person he could be really honest. Like, bro, if this is honesty, what were you doing with these other girlfriends? And again, his mother predicted that he would have a problem. And of course, because it's his mom, she thought he was a super dad. I'm not saying he didn't do all this stuff. He makes them breakfast, packs their lunch, and goes before going to the studio. Nice to everybody. Yeah, nice. A little too nice to some women. But mom called. She's like, she wasn't worried about the road or any of that stuff. I did worry about women. She was worried about Madonna. Whatever, anyway. Well, please just be wary of family men. When they brag about this so much, it doesn't mean they are good family men. That means they really want to be. That doesn't mean they are willing to do that work. Unfortunately, everything that men do to embarrass themselves, women will pay a bigger price for. The women connected to that man, especially his wife. His mom will look bad. His daughters will look bad somehow, even though everyone knows it's not their fault. But look, they're already hiding. And his wife especially, because she couldn't anchor him enough, nor could his daughter. We cannot change men. We are not their anchor, their rock, their purpose for life, their inspiration, the person who keeps them in line. That is not our job. And as I heard someone say yesterday, I'll try to remember who and tag me. Men get to be human beings. Women are expected to be human givers. We just get to be, and we got to give. I'm done. Let me know if you like this. And if you help us out with this baby, I have links in my caption. Et voila. Et voila. Send some love to our boy. Prayer, some energy, whatever. Et voila.